So welcome to Scrapbook Live. I am Megan Jax. It is Wednesday, April 26th. It's the last Wednesday in April. I don't know where the time went, but that means we're doing borders. And as I just explained a second ago, I chose these borders kind of as a, hey, Mother Nature, can you give me the opposite of whatever borders I choose in terms of weather? So I went with winter, the polar lights borders that use the polar bear border punch. And she followed through for me. We're going to have some wonderful weather this weekend. I probably won't get much scrapbooking done because I'm going to be sitting on my back porch watching baseball and hopefully watching my husband do some yard work. That's how this is going to go down, right? So, but today's borders, as I mentioned, we're doing the polar lights borders, but I'm going to be using the Party Time collection at 3 different borders. I have 3 summer birthdays coming up. My 2 older children and my husband all have summer birthdays. Cody and I are later in the fall. So I'll have some borders ready to go for their birthday celebrations this summer. So if you need the handout, you can go to my website. These are borders from the Creative Memories blog. So they just copy and paste the directions. On the handout, you'll see a QR code if you want to go to the original border, to the original blog post from Creative Memories. You'll also notice at the bottom, there is a hashtag here. If you do share the borders that you create, your versions of the borders, if you share them in with Scrapbooking with Megan, if you want, as my Facebook group, you can use that hashtag. And if you are watching this on Facebook, the first comment in the video has the blog post on my website where you can get the handout. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see a link in the description below where you can download that PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my top camera and we'll get started. All right, so the first border that we're going to do is obviously listed as border number 1. And you can see they have it as a horizontal border. There's some components here that I wanted to take note of. They are using one of the laser cut borders, the flocked laser cut borders. It's part of the polar lights. I am going to tell you guys, those borders are super cute. If you need winter collection, polar lights is definitely the one you want to get. It's super fun, adorable, all that good stuff. So they have the laser cut borders representing the mountains here. Then they come in with the polar bear punch, and they punch some different colors of polar bears to kind of give you that fun multicolored and the polar bears in those multicolors. They do use a decorative blade. You can see that at the top and the bottom when they cut their navy cardstock. I have my wave blade. I'm just going to go ahead and use the same blade they use, the wave blade. You could use any of the decorative blades, or you can cut it with a straight blade. You don't have to use a decorative blade, but if you got the decorative blades, this is a great time to use them. And so what I'm going to be using, as Micah mentioned, I'm going to be using the Party Time collection. And for this first border, I'm going to be using the Party Time Brights, which were the brighter colors here. And I'm also going to be using the Cupcake Border Maker cartridge. Now this cartridge by itself is retired. You can't get it just by itself, but it is still available as part of the special edition Border Maker system. So you can get all the components to the Border Maker system, including the Cupcake cartridge. So if you want that Cupcake cartridge, you can get it as part of this, the Border Maker system bundle. So I am also going to be using, it should be in here. I'm going to be using, there it is, one of the borders, the laser cut borders that was part of the birthday borders that came out in November. They were a gift with purchase for Creative Memories birthday that they always have. The first week of November is the Creative Memories considers their birthday. And so usually at the very beginning of November, we will always have a birthday promotion from Creative Memories, and the Cupcake Border Punch was part of that promotion, or was available. That's when it kicked off, but they had these wonderful borders. So I'm going to be using this laser cut border where you see the mountains. That's where I'm going to be using it. So I have picked some various bright colored papers here. I've got the tonal yellow, green, and red from the Party Time. I have this polka dot paper. The back side has the large dots. The front side has the smaller ones. And I'm also going to be using some blue cardstock. So I am going to tell you the one thing I'm going to mix up here a little bit. They are using the different colors on the punch itself. How they do that is they punch a strip of white polar bears, and then they punch the polar bears in those different colors, the island waters, the dark sea green, and the navy, and then they cut them up and adhere them to the top of that white border. You can actually see that in step number 2. Now, they give all of that added detail to that middle section of those polar bear borders. But the reason I am just going to do my cupcakes in this blue. I am not going to make them multicolored, largely because I have such a colorful, decorative upper border here. So where you see the mountains here are very muted. You can see them. They're definitely mountains, but they're not very eye-catching, right? They just provide a nice background detail, and the polar bears are the eye-catching part. I'm going to reverse that. What you see up here at the top is going to be my presents, these presents, and then I'll let the border here at the bottom, the cupcakes, be a little bit more muted and understated. I'm not going to worry about necessarily doing multiple colors. So there's various strips of paper here. There's a background piece that will cut. It's that 3 1/4 inch background piece. Then they want us to have some different colors. They use 3 different colors of background paper. They have the Aurora Borealis, they have this middle snowflake, and then this bottom stripe, the strip of the greenish island waters color. So my background, my background is going to be this tonal red. It has the presents, has the all the party icons on it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut that, get my stuff out of the way a little bit, move it to the side. I'm going to cut my background piece at 3 1/4 inch. I'm going to use my wave blade. So to do that, I need to go ahead and establish my wave edge. So I'm just going to trim off that edge right there. I've established my wave edge. Flip this around and I'm going to trim it at 3 1/4 inch. So here's my base. This is a fairly chunky border. It's got a lot of height to it. It actually works out fine. I don't normally usually have too many photos from a birthday. Usually when we have the birthdays at home anymore, it's just a few photos of the kids with their cake, blowing out the candles, all of us together with the siblings. So I've got my background piece. Now I need a 1 1/4 inch strip, and where they're talking about the Aurora Borealis, that's the top piece. So whatever I'm going to put behind my presents, and I've decided that I'm going to use this thin dotted paper. So I need a 1 1/4 inch strip. Now I've got to swap my blade. This is what's wonderful about the Creative Memories trimmer. These blades just pop in and out. Storage for the blades is on the back. I'm going to admit I don't put mine back here when I'm at home. I have just a little bin over here in my Rascog cart that I just toss my blades, these blades, and I also toss my custom cutting system blades in there. So it's 1 1/4 inch. I'm going to come over here to 1 1/4 on the right side of my trimming line. Cut that to 1 1/4. So that's going to be on the top edge. So this top edge, let's see if I bring this up just a smidge, give myself a little bit more room. The next thing I need to do is I need to cut, they want me to cut the green swells, and that's the bottom piece. Now my bottom piece, I think I was gonna make, well, I've got to decide here. It's either going to be green. I think it is going to be the green. Yes, this green triangles paper. This green triangles paper. It needs to be a 1/2 inch strip, a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to come over here just to that 1/2 inch mark and cut. And that's going to go at the bottom. Now I should have about 1 1/4 inch. I'm going to double check this with my ruler just to make sure. I do not want to have any gaps between here. Yes, if I do 1 1/4 inch, it should be good. It'll actually looks like it might be a little more than I need, but I'm going to do 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch with my yellow tonal paper. The opposite side to this one has the candles on it. It's 1 1/4 inch. I like to dry fit all my pieces together first to make sure everything's going to line up well. There's how things are looking so far. The next thing I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my blue cardstock and I'm going to punch my border. So if you're doing the multicolored, you're going to punch one border and kind of a base color. They tell us to use white. You can use I'm using a border maker cartridge. You could come in, I could have used something like cake if it's sticky with the birthday theme, or you can come in with any of the other ones. You want something that if it does stay attached to the paper, you're going to want to cut it so it has a real thin line underneath. Cake would stay attached normally to the paper. It's an edge style punch. So I would have just cut it thinly so that it has a small base to all those cakes. Otherwise, you can use a chain style, which is what the border, the polar bears is a chain style border. So when you punch it, it comes away from the punch or from the paper. So here I have my base. Now I'm just going to put that right in the middle. You can see here how this is going to come together, and it'll make more sense to why I'm not necessarily worrying about having a multicolored. You can see right here. In fact, I'm going to have to bring this down. My border here is significantly taller than what they used. I may have to do a little bit of overlapping. Those darn tall presents. So you can see here, I've got, I'm going to sneak that in there. Those, right now, if I were to come in and I were to do different colors of the cupcakes here, it starts to be a little bit more distracting. I've got a lot going on up here with these presents. And so if I come in and start adding more detail to these cupcakes, it can be, it just starts to be a lot in this particular border. So I think I'm going to leave it as this. And then I would be able to come in with the various stickers and embellishments that are part of this. I'm running out. Like I could easily just come in with where it just says happy. Happy, and then find something else or use the cheers. There's various embellishments, stickers, things that I could put there to, I have some of the mats. The mats are retired. They're no longer available, but I could easily come in with one of the mats or other ways to add something here to anchor a little embellishment cluster for my title. But I like the fact that I'm just leaving those cupcakes just very, very simple there. So let me go ahead. I'm going to assemble everything now, put all these pieces on. I'm gonna come right, I'm not giving myself much space here at the top. There's not much of that red showing, just enough to see the red itself and that wavy edge. The green will come at the bottom. The same margin. It's very, very thin. Remember, I've got to vary that border. That presence border is pretty tall. I could probably come in and cut off some of this bottom edge if I wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'll just leave it. It's going to work. I do have a gap here because I had to really push things apart, but that's okay. What I'm doing is I'm making sure that I'm coming down here and going right against that green. I want to make sure there's no gap between the green and the yellow, because this gap is going to be covered by that present border. I'm going to put my the cupcake border on. And I'm sneaking that right at the very bottom edge of that yellow paper. They're going to basically sit right on top of the green. And now the presence is going to layer on across the top. So just a super cute, easy, it went together really easy. Of course, if you're doing some more detail across the bottom, you would be able to come in, punch some of this punch here, and then just glue them or adhere them in those pieces right on top of the border there. And then I would be able to come in with, I actually like that placed right there. Cover up some of the presents. And then maybe I could come in with another little banner that I could, if I wanted to have it say birthday across the bottom, I could do that as well. So that's border number one. It came together pretty quickly. Of course, I did manage to not do one of the components of it, but you know, as I always say, you got to do what works for you, right? What works for the materials you're using. Just great inspiration to have your background stack up some of those pieces on there. But all in all, the goal was just I wanted to use the presents border, the cupcakes. A lot of fun there. So that's border number one. Now border number two, we are going to need to use our custom cutting system. So you're going to need circle number 2, which is your medium circle. The smallest circle we call circle number 1, or I do. Tessa and I use the numbering rather than saying smallest, medium, and large. We refer to as circle 1 as the smallest. Circle 2 is our medium size. Circle 3 would be our bigger circle. And then the jumbo circle is the largest. You're also going to need your red blade and a border punch or laser cut border, a sticker or something along those lines. I will, once again, I'm going to be using cupcake, at least at the moment. I could switch it over and use a different one, but right now I was planning to use cupcake. And I am using the Party Time blue for this one. So if you saw my post this morning and I said, oh, I'm using the Party Time, it was this preview of this border that I was showing you. Oh, actually, no, I take it back. That's for border number 3. Got ahead of myself. Border number 2, we're going to use the Party Time Brights again. I'm either going to use, with the circles, the big circles they use here, I'm either going to use this small circle paper that I used previously, or we're going to flip it over and use the back side. I won't know until I have the big circles cut to see which one I like best. But we're going to go with the Brights theme. So I am going to be cutting some circles from the red. We're going to cut some circles We're going to cut it from the red. I've got the blue. Actually, I have a scrap of this red, not this one. I wanted to save that. This is a 12-inch length, so I'm not going to make circles out of when I have another piece that's not a 12-inch length, because I don't need a 12-inch length. I just need enough space to make some circles. And I'm not using the lighter blue. I was going to use the blue, the red, the green. I have the yellow. Actually, I even have a smaller scrap of red. When you're doing the circles, find the smallest scraps that you have to work with so that you can save paper where you can. I don't have any scraps of the yellow, but I do have this smaller scrap of the green. Looking through I keep it obviously all in the project folder. I'm just taking a quick, I thought I dug them all out, but I'm just double checking. There's nothing worse than cutting a full sheet of paper and then realizing you had a scrap of it that you totally could have cut. So I think I am good there. I want 5 pieces or 5 colors. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 1 out of the yellow, green, and red, and I'm going to cut 2 out of the blue because we need a total of 5. So we need to cut a 3-inch strip for our base. My base is this color. Come back here to my trimmer, making sure I've got my straight blade. And I'm going to cut a 3-inch strip. I don't know which side I'm using. I'm going to either use, I've got the small polka dots or the large ones. Not sure which one yet. Now it's time to make some circles. So here's my cutting mat. Circle number 2 with the red blade. And I'm going to cut these circles. I need 5 total circles. You could use other shapes if you wanted to use hexagons. You could definitely do that. You could use hearts. You could use whatever you wanted to go across. Circles is fun. It's going to lend itself really well with that polka dot paper. And as I said, I am cutting 1 of each of these colors, the yellow, the green, and the red. And then I'm going to cut 2 out of the blue. I wanted to make sure I had nice tonal colors to go against my lighter decorative background. You can see even if I put on these colors there, they're going to stand out from that this piece. If I use something that was lighter in color, it wouldn't stand out quite as much. And now I'm going to cut 2 out of the blue. You could try the circle punch. I see a question about using the circle punch. You could use a circle punch. The circle punch is 1 3/4 inches, and these circles are about 2.5 inches wide. So they are definitely bigger. But if you wanted to do the circle punch, it would actually maybe allow you to scale this down a little bit smaller. You wouldn't necessarily need something so tall here, but you could do the similar concept with those circles along the back side or along the background. So there's my background. Now I was going to come in and do, I think I was going to do the blue across the back again, but now I'm a little bit, I'm questioning myself because I did this color. Maybe if I still come in with navy. We'll try the navy. I'm going to punch the navy. I need a strip to go across the bottom here. And I'm just going to quickly go through here and see what I can find. I think I'm going to grab some, I think if it'll work. I really like the craft paper with this, and I have a scrap. I'm going to use this craft paper. This was actually from the Craft and White, I think was the color, was the name of it. It was a Advisor exclusive pack of paper a couple of Christmases ago. And I'm going to use this piece, and they want, they want us to trim off 1/4 inch of each circle and adhere side by side. And then we're going to trim a piece to go across the bottom. So they want you to cut 1/4 inch off the bottom of each one of these, but I'm wondering if I just cut a piece of this, that'll actually cover it up. I'm going to cut this to 3/4 of an inch. Well, we'll do a 1/2 inch. See, if I don't know that I necessarily needed to cut off the bottom of it if I am just using a piece of paper over it. And then we will come across here with our cupcakes on navy. So the great thing about the borders is that really when it comes to doing borders, you can just take a look and you like the overall aesthetics of them. I love the circles. I mean, I like this border as a total. There's nothing wrong. If I needed a winter border and wanted to make the polar bears, that's perfect. But just using the different things, like I like this concept or I want to try that technique, and then just grab the materials you have that work with your photos. And there we can see putting in those navy I could come across the bottom. The craft color does work really well. There is, in the silver and gold, there's actually a craft color that I like better, but I don't know. I don't have a full 12-inch length of it is my problem. It's this one. I would really love that to be at the bottom, but I don't have a full 12-inch length of it. I'm going to use it for border number 3 because I did have a small piece. But I think this little chevron piece that I've got is going to be fine. Just mixing and matching. And then if I wanted to, I could come in, there's the border stickers. I could easily come in with the border sticker across the bottom as well. This is happy birthday. The border sticker, I will probably wait though to put that on. So let me go ahead. I'm going to adhere all these in place. Line these up. I'm going to go ahead and line up my and I'm just going to try, I think I'm going to go ahead and just center my, well, maybe they'll be a little bit up towards the top. Grab my T-square ruler. That's going to help me put everything in place. My circles are about 1/4 of an inch from the top of the background piece. So I'm going to use that T-square ruler. You want to make sure your paper, of course, is lined up. And then I'm going to use that T-square to help me get these so that they're all even across the top. And then when I put my piece along the bottom, everything should be lined up just fine. They should butt up right next to each other. Your spacing, you should be able to fit all 5 right across, just touching each other, and they should go from end to end if you're using that circle number 2 with the red blade on the inside track. Repositionable adhesive may have been what I needed. And one more piece here. Yeah, you could have cut the circles. The directions includes, mentioned to cut the circles, but I don't think I really needed to. I think it's just easier to put them on here and just let that bottom strip cover up, give that illusion of that straight edge at the bottom. I think I'm going to hold off from attaching the last 2 pieces. I really, as much as I like this, I really do. I'm almost positive I have another pack of the silver and gold that's going to have this warmer. It's a little bit darker. It doesn't have the decorative piece to it here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll cut a piece of that will come in and serve across the bottom. Still that 1/2-inch strip, but I think I'm just going to like it a little bit more. And I might play around with my colors on this too. There is the shimmer, the Vista shimmer. Do I have enough? I'm going to punch the Vista shimmer, or excuse me, the Starry Night shimmer, not the Vista. The Vista was a different color of shimmer. I think I have enough here. Little bit of, the shimmer papers are fun. They punch wonderful, especially these thinner ones, the Starry Night shimmer. But I think it's still going to look really good. Stands out a little bit more. Maybe it's hard to see there. So I'm going to play around with this just a little bit more, fiddle with it just to get it the way I want it. The other option I might, yeah, I'll play with it a little bit more. I could also come in and just put it across my paper like such. I just want it to stand out a little bit more against my my pieces here. And that's a challenge when you start to do, yeah, Renee is commenting about I could do the lighter strip. I could come in with the light blue, or I have some other colors I could come in with across the middle here. So I'm going to play with that a little bit after we're all done with everything, and then you'll see the final. I'll post it to my Facebook page, or if you're watching this on Facebook, you'll see at the end of the video what those all look like. So you saw the gist of it. You put the strip across the bottom. That serves as kind of the base for whatever your border is across there. And then it's, voila, looks great. I may also still put a background behind. Sometimes I do the borders. I still feel that it needs, the polka dot there. Got a lot of pattern going on, whether I put a border behind this polka dot piece. So I'll play with that a little bit off camera to get it all straightened out. You certainly don't need to have me hemming and hawing over that. Now, border number 3. This is actually the one that I had to practice ahead of time to make sure I showed you correctly how to do it. And that the way that it was explained, that wasn't any other options to make, you know, a little bit different or whatever. But the borders, I think the directions, once you actually start doing them, it does make sense. When I first read them, I was a little bit like, what? But when you actually start putting them together, it does come out nicely. So border number 3 is a vertical border, though you would be able to turn it horizontal if you needed to. You just need to watch the directions of your paper. They're using the polar bears, you know, so it's all very vertical. But if you needed this to go the opposite direction, you could. You would just need to make sure that any pattern to your paper lets you do that. I am going to be doing it as a vertical border configuration. I am using the Party Time Blue. And so my background, where they show a striped piece of paper, is I'm going to be using this blue tonal stripe. They then want us to show a navy cardstock that gives some separation between our polar bear background and the striped background. I am just going to come in with this tonal paper. It has the blue. It's actually from the it's Party Time Blue. Has the plaid gingham stuff on the back. My background, where they show the polar bears, is going to be this blue, the blue banners. And then to make this embellishment anchor piece, the chevron piece at the bottom, you can see here, I'm going to need this lighter blue is going to be where they have the aqua color in the middle. That's going to anchor my, where I put any kind of embellishment cluster there. They show the punches. Then the chevrons at the top and the bottom, I'm going to be using this dark blue, the same piece. And then I am going to cut some chevrons out of this piece of the craft paper. All right, so we're going to get started here. I'm going to be following this pretty much word for word. I don't have a lot of variation that I'm doing to this one until maybe we get down to what they put in this embellishment cluster in the middle. If I stick with using the cupcakes or I decide I'm going to do something else. So I need a 3 1/4 by 12-inch strip of striped paper for the bottom. So 3 1/4 inches. You could use a decorative blade on this. I would actually probably use a decorative blade on the next layer up. I would leave this one just the way it is. And if I was going to use a decorative blade, I would use it where you see the navy back here. I would consider using a decorative blade. It probably depends on what your background paper is here. I'm just going to leave it straight. I need this to be 2 5/8 inch. This represents the navy, the thin navy strips you see on either side of the polar bear paper. So 2 5/8. 5/8 is the 1/8 of an inch, just past 2 1/2. 2 5/8. This should layer on. I can still see the stripes. I get a nice bit of those stripes on the outside edge. And now I need a 2 3/8 inch piece of the banner paper here. So 2 3/8. When I do my 8s, I usually start at my closest whole number and then I count over, you know, the 1/8, 2/8, and then 3/8. That layers on as such. I mean, just by itself, the banners are such a nice detail. You could just stop there and add some embellishment and you've got yourself a border. The next item they want us to do is, they want us to cut the chevrons in step 2, but I'm actually going to skip down to step 3. I'm just going to go ahead and cut that tonal piece of paper. This. It needs to be 2 3/8 inches wide by 4 tall. So 2 3/8. I'm going to cut that section out of where I've got these banner punches. I'm going to cut that section out of here. So I'm coming over here to 2 3/8. And then 4. 2 3/8 by 4. So that's going to sit on top, and you can see there, now I've got a more neutral area in terms of pattern and color that I can put embellishments and details. It's not going to be competing with the background. Now we're going to use the chevrons to give ourselves that separation between the pattern heavy background piece here and this piece. So to do that, I am using these two colors. I'm going to need a total of 4 pieces that are cut to 2 3/8 inches wide by 1.5 tall. So this piece of paper here, I'm actually going to be trying to get all my pieces out and maybe leave some scraps. So I'm going to cut this over. I'm going to cut it to 1.5 inches because it's wider than 2 3/8. So if I cut it to 1.5 inches, 2 strips at 1.5. Now I'm going to narrow these down to 2 3/8. You just need those rectangles that are 2 3/8 by 1.5. 2 3/8 by 1.5. Now I need the same out of this piece. So rather than cutting a 2 3/8 inch wide, I'm actually just going to cut it to 1.5 wide. One and a half inches wide, and now cut this to 2 3/8. Okay. Now, here comes the fun with making the chevrons themselves. So what we're going to want to do, and you may want to practice this on another piece of paper. All right. So cut yourself a scrap. I wouldn't necessarily do it with cardstock, but cut yourself a scrap, or just make sure you have some extra paper to work with. If these are the last 2 bits of this piece of paper and you really want them to be your chevrons, don't cut them right now. Set them aside, find a piece of scrap paper so you can practice this, because we don't have a lot of room. If you're going, you can use your scissors to cut this. You can also use your trimmer. I'm going to use my trimmer because I feel it's more precise with how I'm going to tell you to cut it. But you can cut this with your scissors if you want. That's what the directions are. So I am going to hold this so that it's 2 3/8 across the top. My narrower side is on the side here. So it's short. It's rectangular, held in what we call, the horizontal or the landscape orientation. And then I'm going to fold it in half. Now here is where, if you have your scissors, you could come in and you could just snip and snip. You want to make 2 parallel angled snips, right? So you cut from the outside, the open edge, up towards that corner. And then you'd make the same. You could grab your piece here that you cut off and you make the same cut here, but they need to be parallel to each other. I'm going to use my trimmer. How I'm going to use my trimmer is I'm going to line up. Here's my folded edge. My folded edge is at the top. My folded edge corner, I'm going to line up on my cut line, and I'm going to rotate it, the bottom corner, over to the 1/2 inch mark. All right. You see that? That top corner is lined up on my cut line. I'm coming over here at the bottom corner to the 1/2 inch, that first solid line. And I'm going to cut. Now you don't have a lot of room here. You're going to have to work hard to hold it. And I'm going to cut. Now, I need to do the same thing over here. I'm going to flip my paper over. And I got to figure out, you got to get the orientation right. Well, actually what you can do is you can probably just come over. If you want to come over, I'm trying to think how I did this. Well, okay. That's what I did. I did this morning, but it was early. For this next one, I need it to be parallel. I need to make sure that this side over here remains relatively straight. So my folded is right up here on the 1/2 inch line. My opened corner is down here is on the cut guide, the cut line. Well, that doesn't give me much room to... Oh, this is how, okay, I am so sorry. I'm making this a muddle. This is how I did it. Your cut edge is right here. Flip it over, and you're going to rotate it so your bottom cut line, your bottom fold, the open fold part, is at the 1/2 inch, is at the cut line. The folded edge comes over here to the peak, or to the 1/2 inch. You should see this be parallel. Now you could just line up this edge, your cut edge before, on the 1/2 inch. Alicia's suggesting using the sticky note. That's a great idea as well. Using sticky note on here to hold everything into place. But if you line up that bottom corner, that's open the flappy part, right? That's my open corner at the bottom. Come up here, the folded edge or the folded corner comes up here to the 1/2 inch mark. Make sure you're parallel over here. If you're not parallel right here to these lines, then you're going to cut the wrong angle. And then cut. And that's going to give you your chevron. Now, like I said, you may have to practice that a couple times, but once you got it figured out, you just have 3 more to do. They're all the same. So I'm going to fold it. I have the landscape orientation of my rectangle, fold it in half. My folded corner gets put on my cut line. My open corner gets put over at 1/2 inch. It's angled down here angled towards the bottom, going towards the left. And I'm going to cut. I'm going to flip it over. My open corner now is on my bottom, on my cut line. The folded edge comes over here to the 1/2 inch. I can see that I'm parallel. If you want to use that sticky note, you definitely could. There's my second chevron. So like I said, once you've got the technique figured out, it's just repeating. The first cut is done with a folded edge on that cut line. Open corner comes to the 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to flip it over right to left. My open corner comes here at the cut line. I rotate it so that my folded edge is at that 1/2 inch. I'm going to see I'm parallel now here. Last one. Like I said, you can make chevrons all day long now if you wanted to. I do have a video that talks about how to make chevrons. The biggest thing is you just want to make sure everything's parallel. So there I have all 4 of my chevrons cut. We'll do a dry fit just to get an idea what things are going to look like. Decide whether or not, do I want a lot? Do I want a little bit of that craft paper showing? Those chevrons are going to cover up your piece, but you can see I like that just a little bit. You can vary how much of that bottom color you want. You can come in with a thick chunk of it. You can come in with a thinner slice if you want. And now here in the middle, I need to figure out what I'm going to put across here. Now, it just so happens I've already cut some cupcakes, right? So I think what I'm going to do is I am just going to go ahead and put some cupcakes on this piece of paper. We'll start in the middle. I want to do 3. Let's see. By putting these on first before you make sure you have your decorative element on there so you know you're not covering it up and you're leaving yourself plenty of space for that. I don't think I did a good job centering the first piece up vertically. It's okay though, because I have some room to adjust with my chevrons. Okay. Assembly. Everything just gets put layered in the middle. It's all just centered. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to layer on my chevrons together first. It'll be easier to get them established so I can put them on as a pair. Right now this is a bundled pair for me to put on here. That's going to make it easier for me to figure out exactly where they need to go without necessarily worrying that I've got the spacing, that I'm leaving just enough of the craft color coming through. Yeah, that's going to work good. So put all these in place. Of course, you wouldn't necessarily have to, I didn't necessarily have to do these cupcakes here. I could have left that open and just done an embellishment cluster. That's the nice thing about this technique with these chevrons. It really does give you that focal place to do something with embellishments right here in this area. And I've got some options too. I don't necessarily have to, I could have my chevrons be like this, right? I could have drawn even more focus with them this way. You have some flexibility to play around with how you do your chevrons. If you needed more space here, I could have given myself a bigger space. So play around a little bit with that aspect of it. See what you like. But there is border number 3 came together. I think this is going to work well. You could even put the number in the middle here. I mean, I don't think I would do it with the cupcakes just because those are pretty contrasty. But like I'm thinking I could have done this for my husband's, put that big old 4-9 on there for him this year. So, just have to rub that in a little bit. I enjoy that he will always be older than I am. So, Anyway, those are the 3 borders. I do have some adjustments. You guys have had, I saw some great suggestions coming across for this particular border here. I do know there was a comment about trying a lighter color of blue. So I have all of my blues scraps in a project folder. So I will be going through and seeing what I've got if I want to try a blue. I have this really bright blue. I actually might use this because this blue, this is probably from one of the shades of Aqua Packs or something that I have, a scrap, really matches that bright blue in here. So I'm going to figure all that out. So I'll play around with that a little bit more and see what I like. I just want something that's going to pop a little bit brighter off of this, the background. I like this background here. I am going to come in and grab the same craft, though I will tell you really quick, since you guys are all still on here, one of the reasons I really wanted to save, because maybe this is what I'm going to do. I think I know this. Okay, so this, I now can cut 2 circles from this. I think what I'm going to do, I was debating, is I was going to cut 2 craft circles. And I'm going to remove these blue, because these dark blues are the ones that are causing problems. I can bring in that dark blue other ways. If I come in here with the craft, now that stands out. Or I could still use the lighter color, but I could come across the bottom. I don't think I'd use the dark blue. I could come across the bottom. I could come across the bottom with the dark blue. I'll cut myself a 1/2-inch strip. It's got circles in it, right? Staying with the circle theme. And let me try. I'm going to punch this bright blue color. I always don't mind punching cardstock because I have lots of it. I don't know that I got to play around with it a little bit more, but I think what I'm going to need, that needs a little bit. Maybe I will do the 2-tone. They do show layering this one to give yourself a shadow. They show it a shadow on those. We'll see. I may play around with it a little bit more and figure it out. Sometimes these cupcakes, or maybe what I'll do is I'll come in, these cupcakes, sometimes I feel like they need a little bit more, a little bit of decoration up. So maybe some pen work, or you can come in with the other elements. Granted, I put all the little punch pieces, I put them in the trash, but you could see what I could do is I could layer in those punch pieces that punched out of that Starry Night shimmer and give myself some added detail to some of these cupcakes. I do see a comment about going the opposite way, giving myself the darker blue. With that lighter underneath. That would be an option too. I'll play around with it a little bit more, and maybe I will get a little bit more with some of these punch details that have come out and layer these on some of the other pieces. We'll see. I will play with it and get it posted here in a little bit. I see some comments saying they like the dark blue better, so maybe we'll go dark blue there, and then I'll just figure out something a little bit different here across the bottom. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll have fun playing with it a little bit here and get the final so that you guys can see what it looks like. So yeah, I think those little pieces will be a nice detail to add to the punch there, just to give it a little bit more oomph and excitement in that the border. So that's the Scrapbook Live for today. There's no major announcements. The promotion is they're still going on. The Creative Memories promotion, if you're catching this before April 28th at 10 a.m. Pacific, they currently still have the Ladybug bundle available. So if you have been eyeing those little adorable ladybugs, you can still get that as part of the promo bundle. This Friday, we will have a preview of the new products coming for May. I'm not sure what they are. In previous years, we have seen the summer collection at some point in May. I think actually the past 2 years, it maybe has been mid-May. So I'm not sure if we'll see the summer collection coming out next week, but we will see that probably sometime in May is my assumption. And I also believe we will see at some point in May the Secret Box, it was that Secret Box number 2 coming out for 2023. So be on the lookout for that information. It may be next week. It might be the second part of May. I would anticipate that we are going to see it though to use for the June crop. That is what they did last year. It was available for June crop. So I would expect kind of to see the same general pacing for that, assuming everything has come in for the products correctly from the supplier. So I think that's pretty much all I have. I am planning we will meet next week for Scrapbook Live again. So between now and then, really, it's just going to be that fun product launch. We'll get those details on Friday, and you'll have them all to know what good things are coming. So yeah, I'm seeing so many great ideas come in for these that final border. So I'll scroll back through some of them and see what it is. Sometimes it's just about playing and experimenting, determining what do you have for scraps. Cardstock is always good to play with because you have, I don't feel so bad if I punch some cardstock that I can just grab another sheet of. Sometimes when I punch my favorite pretty paper and it doesn't work out, I'm a little bit like, oh, that was a bummer, but I just save that punch piece. You never know when it's going to come in handy down the road, right? You can always use it later. So yeah, I'll get this all finished up, get it posted for you guys. If you joined later and you need to be able to zip back through to the beginning, Facebook does save it. You can do that, or you'll be able to catch it on YouTube later today. So everybody take care. Enjoy what is hopefully going to be a marvelous weekend for you. I am looking forward to the sunshine. I have some baseball games to watch. My middle child has drama production this week, so it's very, very busy. But that's just how it goes these days. As you guys may know with your own kids, grandkids, May is end of April, and all of May is always very busy with school activities as we're wrapping up the school year. So everybody take care. I will see you next week. Thanks so much for watching.